day
34
of my trip, day
24
of Jeju, and day
17
in Seogwipo. I'm later than I wanted to be again today, unfortunately. This is the fit. One that I know you've seen before and I know you'll see again. Today is day 2 of the Jeju Festa thing, except today the event is all the way on the other side of the island and I thought it was only an hour away. It's like 2 hours away. So I'm gonna make it with only an hour to spare, and I don't even know if it's still gonna be going on because of all the rain that's been happening, but if not, hopefully I'll have time to go to the museum. Otherwise, I guess I'll just have like 4 hours to watch When Life Gives You Tangerines and to edit my video or whatever. Also, I thought I could just get like one bus over there, but like it looks like I have to transfer 3 different buses, so that's unfortunate, but anyways, I'm finally ready, so we're gonna go.
Oh my goodness, and this girl next to me was asleep for like the whole time, and mind you, it was a long ass bus ride, and at some point she ended up like leaning on me, like sleeping on my shoulder, and I was just like, okay, I guess this is what's happening. But we finally arrived and I convinced them to let me join on a tour. It was me and 2 other girls. They were from France, I think, a mom and a daughter, and the tour guide, she was like, oh, like, is this both of your moms? And I was like, no, I came here alone. And it was a decent tour. It was all right, definitely good for someone who has absolutely no idea about anything about Jeju, but most of the things that she told us I already knew, and I was like, well, technically this and this and this, right? And she was like, oh, well, yeah, actually. And I was like, It was just a very simple version of history and kind of sugar-coated. Like, she was like, everybody back then loved the king. And it's like, well, so the tour was a little bit too basic for me, but it was still good. Also, apparently this was one of the filming locations for When Life Gives You Tangerines, but I haven't gotten to that episode yet. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. This is where they filmed it. But I couldn't really be like immersed in it and like imagine it because I hadn't seen that scene yet. And while I was glad to have taken the tour, her English was very good, and I was very appreciative that there was an English language option. Her accent was so thick that I was having such a hard time understanding what she was saying. And English is my first language. I couldn't even imagine how difficult it must have been for these people who have English as their third language to like try to focus and like decipher what she was saying. And I was like, damn, I wish I could like volunteer to be an English tour guide because like, again, her English was good. She could definitely give the tour in English. However, her accent was so thick that it was just really hard to understand her. After the tour, I walked around a bit and found a little mini museum, and there was some info about Lee Hyung-sang, who was appointed as the minister of Jeju Island at the age of 50 in 1702. Bro was impeached and dismissed from office for like a bit over a year because of politics and power struggles, but he had put much effort into reforming the province's traditional customs and Confucianism. There was just a lot of other cool information and historical tidbits about Jeju in this area. I really liked the paintings. I think that these old historic paintings, especially of Jeju, are so interesting to look at, but after a quick run through, I left because, you know, it was a very small little exhibit. But like always, pause to view if you are so inclined. There was a solid handful of booths spread out around the area with things to do, and one of them had a photo booth. It was so cute. They had a bunch of different old school uniforms that you could put on for the photos, and they were like When Life Gives You Tangerine themed, so it was very fun, even though I haven't gotten very far in the show, so the uniform doesn't necessarily like mean too much to me yet, and I didn't know what pose to do. There was one scene where she threw a ring in the field, and so I was like, okay, I'll like pretend to like find my ring in the photo. I don't know. They turned out okay. I got there at 4:05, and by 4:45, I had pretty much seen everything, so I decided to leave. And oh my goodness, my pop socket broke, like straight up unfixable broke, and I use that bitch so often. Oh my goodness. So like I was literally like, what am I even gonna do? How can I just have a broken limp dick pop socket like this? Since I had already come so far, you know, it's basically like the other side of the island from where I'm staying, I decided that I wanted to stop by a museum while I was there. I technically did have a bit of time in terms of getting to the museum before it closed. However, I would not have been able to make it if I took the bus, so I called a taxi. Once I got to the museum, before going into the main area, I stopped at this little exhibit that was literally going to be closing like the next day or something, and it was so cool. I thought maybe there would be a worker in there, but it was just me. Literally, I didn't run into anyone else. No one ever came in the building. There was a lot of artwork. I'm pretty sure like modern renditions of, you know, old traditional style art pieces, but either way, it was so cool. I also thought this was really cool, this map with all the historical and cultural sites on Jeju. And of course, you know, I first had a look at the gift shop. There were some really cool things in the gift shop here. I was very impressed. And the museum started off really strong with this cool timeline that had like little photos and icons, and the top was Korean history, and then the bottom was like world history to connect events to each other. And I liked how the squares with all the dates like overlapped. So you can see like, you know, history isn't exactly linear, things overlap, and it was just a very good timeline. Pause to read. I very highly recommend you pausing it, and knowing Korean like also helped a little bit, but there were English translations, so it was okay. I just, out of all the timelines I've ever seen type of thing, this one was the best because of just, again, the way that it compared different times to each other and the way that things overlapped, and you could see Korean history and world history in different eras. I love it. And here are just some close-ups, again, pause to read, but I loved seeing how, okay, the Viking era was also like the Shilla era, start of Goryeo, and oh my goodness, and you know, Chinese history and European history all there together with the Korean history on top of it. Amazing. I can tell that so much care and like thought went into the creation of this timeline. And again, this is all like the first few steps into the museum. It was so cool. This map of Jeju showing the topography and it changed colors and oh my gosh, it was just so cool. The Paleolithic period, the beginning of Jeju. Jeju is a relatively young island. More than 1.8 million years ago, lava began erupting under the waters of what is now Jeju Island. Later, the lava broke the surface of the sea, causing land to form. This volcanic action eventually ceased, leaving behind Hallasan Mountain and numerous volcanic cones. About 40,000 years ago, during the Ice Age, Jeju Island was connected to the Korean Peninsula, China, and Kyushu in Japan due to low sea levels. People and animals traveled back and forth over these land bridges. Sengsukwe site in Seogwipo-dong, Seogwipo City bears traces of the Paleolithic people who first arrived in Jeju. While living mostly inside caves or under rock shelters, they prepared and cooked the food they hunted and gathered by using chipped stone implements such as micro stone blades. Jeju Island in the Neolithic period. When the last ice age ended approximately 10,000 years ago, the climate began to warm. The evergreen needle-leaf trees that once composed the forests gave way to decutus broadleaf trees, and large animals gradually disappeared. People produced and used delicate stone products, including arrowheads, in an effort to hunt faster animals. This Neolithic culture in Northeast Asia can be observed in Jeju as well. In Gosanri, Jeju City, there is an archaeological site of a Neolithic age village that is the earliest of its kind in Korea. Gosanri-style pottery is the oldest surviving earthenware ever discovered in Korea. As sea levels rose, Jeju became an island again, but people from the south coast of the Korean peninsula continued to arrive in Jeju by boat. And here's a map of Jeju and all of the historic archaeological excavation sites. Jeju's pretty much split into two. The top, it says up there Jeju-shi, Jeju City, and then the bottom is Seogwipo-shi, Seogwipo City, and in the middle is Hallasan Mountain. I absolutely love this museum. It's honestly probably my favorite museum in Korea and my dream workplace. And I really like this. It was a very cool little like chart with all the different pottery types, but there wasn't a translation, so here's a translation. You can pause to read if you're interested. As the Bronze Age progressed, the population increased and the villages that developed on the coast grew in size. People formed large villages on the island and derived food from the ocean. Inside the villages were housing sites, warehouses, workshops, and tombs. Bronze daggers and jade ornaments were excavated from the villages, which meant that there were privileged people with power and status who were well off enough to own imported precious objects. The southern region of the Korean peninsula, around the birth of Christ, was a place inhabited by many small states. During this time, Jeju actively communicated with China and Japan. As evident from in the Book of Wei Dynasty records of Dongyi people and records of the Three Kingdoms, Jeju was the center of trade between China, Japan, and Korea. I really liked this little display because it shows a lot of different aspects of what it would have been like in a village in Jeju way back when, from making tools to building a house, hunting for food, and it just really helps put things into perspective. And I really liked this. There were steps and you could go and get a full good look at a full-size version of a jar coffin burial. The sign that was there that explains what a jar coffin burial, or in Korean a tukmudom, is, says that coffins were clay jars for burying the remains or bones of a person. Tombs that contain coffins are known as jar burials. Jar coffin burial discovered in Samyeongdong, Jeju, is one of the oldest examples found in Jeju. It used two Samyeongdong type potteries to form a tomb. This museum has so many good timelines, but it was a little unfortunate that this one was all in Korean. Of course, I understood a few of the words, I know 문화, that means culture, and, I can understand when it says 고고려, 백제, the things like that. And, Tamna, Guguro, like, I know Tamna, I know what that is. That's the old name for Jeju. Like, Shilla, Samguk, Tungil, I know that's like the unified Shilla era, but most of these things I would need to pause to translate for, so. Here's just a quick screenshot of a translation of this specific part of the timeline. It's super interesting, though. I would have loved if it actually went on in English so I could read more of it, but if you are so interested, you can pause here. No, but for real, look at how nice this museum is. It has a whole seating section and a whole movie display thing going on. Even though it's all in Korean, it is so fun to watch. Okay, now for the real history. Island nation Tamna. Around the 2nd century, a time when the Goguryeo, Baekje, and Shilla kingdoms and the Gaya Confederacy were emerging as ancient nations on the Korean peninsula, smaller power centers in the villages merged to form a kingdom on Jeju Island. It was named Tamna, or island country, Tam meaning island and Na meaning country. By that time, pottery in the same style was being used across all regions of Jeju, suggesting that the entire island shared a single culture. Tombs for the ruling class were also being constructed. The Tamna kingdom developed further and left a mark on history by interacting with the Baekje and Shilla kingdoms, Japan, and Han Dynasty China across the sea. The Shilla kingdom bestowed the title Songju, meaning the owner of the stars, upon the rulers of the Tamna kingdom. The earliest mention of Tamna in official records is in the history of the Samguk Sagi as, quote, the country that paid tributes to Baekje in 476, end quote. The formation of Tamna is confirmed by the emergence of a ruling class and the formation of a homogeneous culture zone. The steel weapons and beads excavated from the ancient tombs in Yeongdam-dong, Jeju are imported prestige goods that prove the existence of a powerful ruling class in Tamna at the time. Gonneiri type pottery is a cylinder-shaped pottery that has been excavated from the leading late Tamna period site in Gonneiri, Jeju. Shaped like a deep bowl with a flat bottom and a narrow rim, Gonneiri pottery type was made using a new technique on the wheel. The pottery shows that Tamna accepted new technology to advance its daily culture. It was during the mid to late Tamna period, which corresponds to the late Three Kingdoms period up to the unified Shilla period, that the nation made itself known to other countries at home and abroad. During this time, Gonneiri type pottery spread across Jeju and the island exhibited a homogeneous culture. Tamna continued to pay tributes to surrounding countries and maintained independence until 1105, when it became part of Tamna-gun, an administrative unit of Goryeo. Some of the celadon discovered in Jeju were made at a relatively early time. At the sea bottom of Shinchang-ri, Hangyeongmyeon in Jeju, Chinese celadon made in the Longkwan kiln in Southern Song Dynasty was discovered along with gold bracelets and gold hairpin. Records of Song China and Japanese merchants frequently visiting Jeju is evidence that Jeju was at the center of East Asian exchange at sea during the 13th century. Jeju during the Goryeo dynasty. The Goryeo dynasty was established in 918 and at first acknowledged Tamna as an independent state. However, Tamna lost the status 180 years later in 1105 when the Goryeo government named Tamna a local administrative district, Tamna-gun. The new cultural elements of Buddhism and celadon were introduced to the island. Many temples were also built during this time. Following the war between the Goryeo dynasty and the Mongol forces, the Sambyol-cho, a military unit that performed police and combat duties during the Goryeo period, resisted the invaders until the end. However, in 1273, the Sambyol-cho was defeated by a combined Goryeo and Mongol force, and Tamna became the Tamna Commandery under the direct rule of the Mongols. The Mongols built ranches in the sprawling hilly and mountainous interior of the island where they raised free-roaming horses. In 1295, the name Tamna was changed to Jeju, meaning a town across the sea, and it has remained in use to this day. Hangpa Dorisong Kabu, armor from Hangpa Dorisong Fortress. This metal armor was excavated from inside the castle grounds of Hangpa Dorisong Fortress. Although the exact shape of the armor is unknown, the armor dating from the Goryeo dynasty is speculated to have been crafted with metal scales on the coat. According to Goryeo Dokyeong, Goryeo armor is said to lack the portion that protects the shoulders. The armor of the Goryeo army seems to consist of long vest-type armor and an overcoat made of textile. When the Mongolian army invaded in 1231, Goryeo moved the capital to Ganghwa-do Island and resisted. However, Goryeo surrendered to the Mongols in 1270 and returned to Gaegyeong. Yet, the Sambyol-cho, a military unit of Goryeo formed of residents, continued to resist in Ganghwa-do Island. It first moved its military base to Jindo Island and then again to Jeju as they were put in a disadvantageous position in the fight. Jejumok Kwanato Palkul. Excavation of the Jejumok office site. The Jejumok office was built for the local magistrate, who was dispatched from the central government. There were many buildings inside the office complex, but most of them were destroyed during the colonial period. The office site was excavated from 1991 to 1998. Evidence of reconstruction after a fire, building facilities, and walls were found, and occupation layers from the Tamna period were also discovered on the site. I loved this exhibit in the museum. At the bottom there, that line says Tamna for like the Tamna era of Jeju, and then the second line says Goryeo, the third line says the early Joseon era, and then the next line is going to say later Joseon era, and I absolutely love the way they did this. Archaeology is so interesting, and it needs to be accessible to so many more people in a way that's palatable, and this is exactly that. I thought that the way that they displayed it and set it up was just so smart and so exciting and fun to look at. And there were a bunch of old maps here, very, very fun to look at, very interesting, and I kind of took a little longer to look at these maps because they are so detailed, but yet so hard to read in terms of like, you know, it's not how a normal map looks like in the modern era, but oh my gosh, it's artwork, it really is. There were a lot of different maps. This one I tried to, you know, capture some of the littler details of so you can really like get a grasp of it and see, and like, you know, you really see here how mountainous the country is. It has all of these little mountains all over, so cute. Anyways, it was getting late, not late, but like I had a few minutes only until they closed at this point, so like I was trying to rush through as many things as I could. They're about to close. I don't know when they're gonna kick me out. There's no one else around me now. It's like 6, like right now. Okay, I get up at 6:01. I need to just leave. I don't know where the exit is though. I think I'm just gonna go back the way I came. I'll come back again. For sure. It was free. This looks like a step for me. It says stone burner, case to the earth god, stone mortar, milestone, milestone. I really wanted sujebi, so I found somewhere that had it, walked 10 minutes to the bus stop, and made my way over.
Okay, I got to the restaurant and there were a lot of people in there. It was very much like a chain restaurant where you order on like a tablet or whatever. And as embarrassing as it is to admit defeat, especially around like an entire restaurant packed full of people, they only sold sujebi as like a side. Like it was $2 or whatever to like add on to something. It wasn't even a side, it was like an add-in. So back to square one. This place looks good because it looks very like Korean, very old school and everything. It even has like the old paintings, but I looked at the menu online and everything is like $17 or $15 or whatever in there, and I'm like, so anyways, we're redirecting to go get some bibimbap. Well, we got to the bibimbap place and there's a sign. I don't know quite what it says, but it says 죄송합니다 at the bottom and the lights are off. So we must redirect once more. Okay, this works. This works very well. This is definitely a legit Korean place, you know? I got some water. I went to go get water from like the machine or whatever, and she was like, oh, here, I'll bring you some. And I was like, thank you. She didn't know I was here, and I went up and I was like, 안녕하세요, bibimbap 안 해주세요. So this is the setup. Oh, that's cute. I should have sat in there. Damn. I didn't know that was part of this. Is that? It is. My bitch. I love her. Oh, and there's photos. Oh, I didn't see that. I got the bibimbap. Ooh, and the traditional painting. Oh, we love to see it. Ah, very Korean. Of course, the TV playing politics, just adding to the Koreanness of it all.
맛있게 드세요.
Oh my goodness, she just kept placing shit down. Ha, it is hot.
I'm curious how a perfect ice cream sandwich is made in a factory. The process is a fascinating mix of chemistry and high-speed machinery. It all starts with fresh cream mixed with sugar and powdered milk, but the secret ingredients are plant-based stabilizers to prevent ice crystals from forming and emulsifiers to help the mix bond with air. After being pasteurized and homogenized for a smooth texture, the mix is whipped. This is the crucial step that blends in air and turns the liquid into a soft solid.
And here's the damage. I think I did pretty good. Didn't need as many banchan side dishes as perhaps I should have or would have liked to, but what you gonna do? Before going home, I walked to a Daiso real quick, and oh my goodness, there were so many floors, and my ride home was an hour and a half. So this was the first bus. It was over an hour, so it was like the majority of the ride, but this kid was, oh my god, this little kid, like, nothing against like kids or anything, like I'm not anti like child necessarily. However, when the whole bus is quiet and there is one who, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 year old who is just like yelling and being super annoying and is not being told to shut the fuck up, that's an issue for me.
Little kid is being annoying as fuck. This is why there are a lot of child-free places in Korea, because people cannot make their kids shut the fuck up. That kid is old enough to be told to shut the fuck up.
Here was my wait at the next bus stop. I was actually at a bus stop that I recognized from when I was in Korea in Jeju the first time, so that was cool, and I got a seat, so that was nice.
Right, we back. You know what that means. Time for a shopping haul. Ah! Okay, so first off, I got this, a pop socket, because my pop socket conveniently broke today and is literally hanging on by like a thread. Well, not a thread, a piece of plastic. I shouldn't say literally there. This is my current pop socket. This is its status. That's how much life it has left. So I tried this out. I like felt it, and this is like a good pop socket. So I was like, okay. And look at how cute she is. She's literally perfect. It has the stone man, it has the tangerines, the thatched roof house, the actual stones. Mwah. you know? Anyways. And then this I just got for free at the event for like scanning a QR code or something. It's just a pen. I'll probably give it away as a gift. And then I bought 4 of these coasters. They're the same thing as my pop socket, but I thought that these would be a really good gift. I could give 2 to someone, 2 to someone else, or just 1 to like 4 different people. I did open one of them because it says that they're magnets and coasters, but if you can see, the magnet there is separate from the coaster, and it has like little adhesive thing on it, so you put it on there yourself if you want to make it a magnet. So I have one of them under my computer right now to like, you know, make sure that it stays, and I'll put it on the fridge just for fun, for shits and gigs. I was really excited to get this for free, but also not very excited. So what it is it's a little scroll. It's a hanging scroll. I love these things, right? Especially like art and stuff. And look, this is what it is. This is the part I didn't love because it's like a cartoon kid's drawing. Like, I get it. It is a very traditional Korean like painting, the tiger and I think a magpie. I don't know, the tiger and the bird, him looking up at the bird. It has a bunch of meaning and stuff, right? However, it's very childish, you know, and I'm not a good artist. So I was planning on giving this to my sister. I still am. This is going to my sister. However, when I opened it, I expected this to be glued to this, and it wasn't at all. It was just loose. So I'm wondering if maybe she can paint this separate and then just hang it up on the wall. And then she has a whole scroll to do some artistic freedom stuff with. You know what I mean? Because she's very good at art, if I haven't mentioned that already. And so I think that this would be like absolutely perfect. Like I was already like, okay, cool, I'll give this to her. And now it's like so much better since they're not attached. So that's exciting. You just roll it up. Eat okay. Amazing, amazing. When I got to the event, they gave me one of these things and I was like, oh, that's fine, I already got one, but I took it anyways, and they're different sizes from day 1 and day 2. The front is the same. The front is exactly the same. It says Friday, Saturday, whatever, you know, except the back is different. The back on this one says like day 2 and has all the things. No, wait, what? Okay, so this is day 1, the pamphlet from day 1, and so the back of it says stuff, I think, to make you come to day 2. And then day 2, it says stuff about, I don't know, art or whatever? I don't really know. I didn't really care, actually. The inside of them, when you first open it up, is the same, though. I did this, the bojagi, the singing, and Artist Love by RM, so I did learning and experience in art and culture. But when you open it up, day 2 is like, you know, a map, and it has, you know, the different things you can do for K-pop Demon Hunters, Creative Workshop, When Life Gives You Tangerines, Info Tour, Korean traditional games, you know, and it has like the map of everything. And the inside of day 1 is the map of, you know, the cafe, garden, whatever, and everything, and like the timetable and stuff like that. However, this thing failed to mention literally anywhere. Look, it says it is Saturday from 11 to 5, and I got there at 4, and they told me that the tour was done. They were like, oh no, the tour was from like 1 to 3, or something like that. And when I got there was a mom and a daughter, I think, from France who also wanted an English tour, and they were like, oh, since there's like a few of you here, the lady was like, oh, I'll just do it real quick, you know, for you guys. And I was like, oh, thanks, I thought it ended at 5. And she was like, oh, the tour was from like 1 to 3 or something. I'm like, okay, well, maybe you should write that literally anywhere. Like, why would the tour end an hour before? Anyways, I just thought that it was weird how they were like different sizes, you know what I mean? And the back was different, but I guess that makes sense. Okay, we're doing the small things first. I got another pin. I know it's bad, I have so many pins, but also it's amazing, I love it. It's a map of like the full Korean peninsula, you know, looking like a little rabbit or whatever, and it's a 2-pinner, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that there's like 2 separate like things to connect it to in the back for this, because, you know, and it says that it says Dokdo was the earliest map in Korean history or something like that. I don't know. It looked cool though, so I got it. There was another Korea shaped, like the Korean peninsula shaped pin, and I was like, nah, and then I saw this one and I was like, okay. Yeah, I love the pins that have 2 backs because it's way more secure. And I'm just stupid, I forgot what Dokdo is. It's a very controversial island. It's not even really an island. Well, technically it is an island. It's kind of like a big rock. It's contested between Korea and Japan. And this is basically saying like, bitch, our maps from 1531 show this island as ours. I can't believe that's what I bought, but it's funny. It's not funny. Well, anyways, it's a thing. So that's nice. I'm glad that I got this, even without knowing the meaning, now that I know and remember Dokdo. I was like, wait, Dokdo, that sounds familiar. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's why it's like, this is our island. This is our map said that it was in 1530, like... Anyways, I really like it. But Google Translate doesn't translate this as Dokdo. It says like some other weird name. But I'm just gonna take this to symbolize all of the islands of Korea because, like, you know. Now for the big things. Ooh, it came with stickers to like hang it up with. It is oh my god. Can you see how big it is? Oh my goodness. So it's basically, oh, I had it upside down. It is a timeline with artifacts, and this says China, this says Japan, Seogwipo? I think that just means the world, yeah. And then this is Korea, and so it has all of the different timelines, all the different eras connected with each other. And it has all the different things and I'm so excited about it. Oh my gosh. And it has like explanations for the different artifacts and stuff. This is literally perfect for me. I made myself a little timeline comparing the different dynasties of Korea, Japan, China to be like, okay, you know, Goryeo was during the Song, but it was also during the Tong, and it wasn't during the Tong, but like, you know what I mean, that type of thing. And so now I have one in Korean too, which makes it so much cooler. Oh my gosh. And it has like artifacts to go along with it and everything. I love it. I love it so much. So here you can see Shilla, Goryeo, Gaia, and that's all at the same time as the Han era and the Yayoi culture in, you know, China and Japan. And it says medieval history, early modern history. It says, you know, Goryeo dynasty, the 5 dynasties in China, the Heian period or Heian era, whatever. It has all these different things. Oh my gosh. Amazing, amazing. I'm like geeking out. This is actually the perfect thing for me. And this I might give as a gift. I don't know. It's so nice. It's like velvety or whatever. Felt, I guess, would be the appropriate term. Oh my goodness. Oh, ta-da. And it's a set of chopsticks and spoons. Chopsticks and spoons are a really good thing to get in Korea because I really like the style of chopsticks and spoons that Koreans like use and everything. But it's best to buy them at museums because you know the quality is going to be good and they always have like some type of cute design. When I came before, I got like a few sets, but they were all silver. And this time I was like, screw it, we're going to do the gold.
And I did actually decide to give this away as a gift, which is kind of upsetting though because I don't have any of the gold version. I only have the silver version, but I am planning on going back to Korea, so I can just get another set then.
Now this is the only thing that came in bubble wrap, and I asked if she could give me extra bubble wrap. I was like, oh, she could bubble wrap, and she was like, 조금 더. She was like, you want some extra bubble wrap? I was like, yeah. Look at how much extra bubble wrap she gave me. Oh my gosh, I needed bubble wrap for other stuff, and I don't think I need to go buy it anymore. She gave me like plenty. Probably because I spent over 100,000 won at the place, which in American USD I spent like $70 or whatever. 3 Drunken Scholars set. And these, she specifically like opened the box and was like, just so you know they're not broken, like just to verify, and she showed me like each glass. So this one is the little scholar being all drunk. And then this one is the scholar helping his drunk friend. So cute, so cute. And then this is another drunk scholar. Oh my gosh, are these the same? No, these two are different. They're so cute though. It is so cute. I love these. I love these so much. So now I have bought 5 shot glasses while I've been here because I got the other 2 like dul harabang shot glasses because you gotta buy shot glasses in 2s, you know? And now I have a set of 3 and I'm like, also, they were clear just now, but it says on here, color changing. And see, his face is red. So I think if it gets hot or cold, I don't know which one, maybe both, but it changes so that their face is the Korean flush. Well, it's just like a thing in general. Some people get that, you know, their face turns red when they drink. But, and that is it. That is all that I got today. It was a great shopping haul. I'm super glad that I went to the shop before I walked around because I didn't have time to walk around and see everything. And then by the time I left, when it was like 6:01, 6:02, the shop had closed. And I spent a good like 15 minutes maybe looking around and shopping in there. And it wasn't that big of a shop, but bro, if you're going to go souvenir shopping, do it at the museums. They always have the best stuff. They had so much more stuff that I wanted to get, but I didn't, or like that I was like, oh, I got that last time. I don't know. Anyways, there was a lot of cool stuff. There were a lot of notebooks that had like really pretty covers, like historical paintings as covers and stuff. And I was like, ooh, but there weren't a lot of pages in them. So I was like, you know, whenever I get a really nice, like, you know, novelty notebook or notepad or whatever, I don't want to use it because it's like, it's too good, you know? And so I'm like, I shouldn't get any more.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure whenever it gets cold, the white parts, so their faces will get red. And maybe the flowers here too. And this is my bag with all of its pins. And look at how perfect that is. It blends, oh, it's just amazing. It's good to have China, Korea, China, you know, for some like variety kind of thing. I don't like having 2 Chinas together, except Koreas, there's obviously going to be a shit ton of Koreas together. But, you know, I split it up, like Korea, Japan, Korea, China, Florida, Korea, Florida, Korea. But the white and the gold, and then it looks so good there. The magnet on the coaster is so cute. It is decorative, it's useful, it's easy to like put it up and tidy up. The one downside is that it is a little wobbly when you put something on it, but you know, what you gonna do. And here's the soju before I started drinking. And I ate some ramen and watched some of my little mini short drama.
So my pop socket is officially off, but it's still semi-usable, like just barely. Ugh, just barely. It feels like the pop socket equivalent to a micro penis. And here's the damage report. Not a lot. Not a lot of damage. I stopped drinking when it got light outside.
And finally, here's the ramen stack so far.